Today is book cleaning day, and you may never have heard of such a thing, and well, that's because I just made it up. But one thing is for certain, we should probably all be taking better care of our books, especially if, like me, you like to display them. Well, the thing is, if you've been watching my shorts, you'll know I've been experimenting and researching different ways to care for books for 8 months now. And I think it's time to compile all that information into one video, starting with taking care of the spine. Unless you're blessed with getting all your books as floppy paperbacks, you may have trouble taking care of your spines. I'm talking cracks, creases, and breaks. Gosh, they're so annoying. So if you want to avoid breaking those spines, here's a technique you can try. Grab a paperback that just won't open and start by pressing down the outside cover pages gently. Then grab a small chunk of pages on each side and press those down. Now do it again and again until you reach the center of the book. But be really careful with these center pages, they're the most likely to crack the spine. Once you're done, you'll have a paperback that opens no problem. I recommend trying this technique on a secondhand paperback for the first time, just in case, and so you can get the hang of it. Next, let's talk about book cleaning. Books, like everything else in your home, collect dust, and the annoying thing is they're not the easiest thing to clean. After all, they're just made of paper. But there are a few ways we can clean them. The first is to get a bristle brush like this. This is just a makeup brush that I bought for the sole purpose of cleaning my books. It's really soft, and that's really important. We're essentially going to use this like a duster to dust the pages of our books. So all you need to do is take the brush and run it along the edge of your book, on top of the pages where the dust kind of sits. Just do that a couple of times and you're good to go. To clean the covers of your books, it entirely depends on what your cover is. If you have a paperback that's kind of silky and shiny, you can just wipe this over with a very slightly damp cloth to clean it. And I mean very slightly damp, like it's almost dry. But for something like a dust jacket on a paperback, you don't really want to get that wet because you can ruin the cover. So the best thing that I have found that works is to use a rubber or a razor if you're in the US, and just find the bits that are dirty and use it on the cover to get that muck or those pencil markings or even a bit of paint that might have rubbed off on your book from the corner of your bookcase, something like that. That gets the job done really well. While we're on the topic of covers, next let's talk about... I have tried countless techniques over the past few months to get rid of these very annoying book stickers, and there is only one technique that consistently has come out on top and works like a charm every single time: a hairdryer. Honestly, I have tried hand gel, Goo Gone, a magic eraser, residue remover wipes, citrus oil, and the one that works 10 out of 10 was this. Grab your trusty hairdryer and set it to low or medium heat. Gently heat the sticker for about 30 seconds. Now slowly peel it off while the heat is still on it. It comes right off. This is a big one, displaying your books, as in where you put them and how you put them. There are a few things that are really bad for your books: heat and cold, sunlight, and moisture. Excessive heat speeds up decomposition. Excessive cold can make your books brittle. Direct sunlight bleaches your book's color, and excessive moisture causes mold, your pages to curl and even stick together. If you can display your books in a spot that isn't prone to these things, you're onto a winner. If, like me, you live in the UK and humidity is a big problem, you might have an issue. In fact, one of my bookshelves has all 3 of these things. It's next to a radiator, a window, and moisture is a problem in general. So here are a few things you can do if you deal with any of these. Make sure your books are far enough away from the heat source. A little warmth isn't a problem, but if they're right next to it, that's a no-no. If you're worried about your precious volumes losing their color, move these ones out of direct sunlight and add lighter color volumes here. Get some moisture meters. They're quite cheap and either make sure your space is well ventilated or, like I have to, get a dehumidifier. Honestly, it's worth it for your whole home regardless. Next, let's talk about how you stack your books. Stacking your books horizontally can damage them. And I know this means less room on your shelves, but let me explain. Stacking your books this way puts pressure on the spine, airflow is reduced, and rubbing due to movement can damage the books, especially the ones on the bottom. If you stack them like this, it doesn't happen. It's another reason why bringing your books to the front of your bookshelf rather than pushing them back is a good idea. The airflow you create at the back of those books will prevent moisture buildup, and it's probably a good reason why you shouldn't double stack your books too. Then when you display your books but they don't reach the end of your bookshelf, it's a good idea to use a bookend to keep your books straight. If you don't, your book spines could warp over time and you'll be left with wonky books. Another good technique is to get these kinds of bookends that slide underneath your books, like that, to create a gap in between the wall of your bookshelf and your books. This again creates that airflow all around your books and prevents moisture. Okay, so we've talked about cleaning and displaying your books. Next, let's talk about taking care of your books while you're actually reading them. Having clean hands is a great start, especially because you don't want smudgy fingers all over your book covers. I'm looking at you, snack readers, which is totally me, by the way. But is there anything else we could be doing while we're reading our books to take better care of them? The first thing I suggest you do is take off the dust jacket if you're reading a hardback. I usually remove this and place it somewhere safe so it doesn't get damaged while I'm reading. But if this isn't quite enough and you're worried about the general wear and tear of your books while you're reading them, then I would suggest getting a fabric dust jacket to put on your books. I recently bought one myself, and while it hasn't arrived yet, I can show you a video of a similar one from the same Etsy seller in action. The sleeve essentially protects your book while you're reading it from those smudgy fingers and general wear and tear, but it also protects it while you're not reading it too, because you can essentially wrap it up with a little blanket. This means that you can keep it on your coffee table and anybody else in your family won't damage it if they move it either. Plus, this one is wipeable, which is an added bonus for me. And while we're on the topic of book protectors, and if you like to travel like I do, you can get book sleeves where you slot the book into the sleeve so it's protected while you're on the go. Here's a look at mine, which has a front pocket for my Kindle too. Do you have any additional book care or book cleaning tips? If so, leave them in the comments and let everybody know how you take care of your books. Now, if you'll excuse me, book clean day is not over for me yet.